Take their seats as quickly as possible. Questions without notice. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question's to the Prime Minister. The West Australian Treasurer has told his Parliament that the agreement was with the then Treasurer, the Honourable Joe Hockey. I refer to this letter which details an agreement between the federal government and the state Liberal government. Does the Prime Minister seriously expect the Australian people to believe that there was no agreement between the federal and Western Australian governments on the WA kickback scandal?
Yeah. Members on my right. Members on both sides. Just before I call the Prime Minister, obviously allowing the question, but it wasn't particularly clear what the Leader of the Opposition was referring to when he just talked about an agreement at the start. But the question's in order. The Prime Minister has the call. The Prime Minister has the call.
Yes, thank you, Mr Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition has not simply taken leave of his senses, he has taken leave of reality. Mr Speaker, the Attorney-General in the Senate has set out in a very detailed statement all of the correspondence that relates to this. He's made it perfectly clear what occurred. All of the issues are dealt with there. This was a matter where there was a case determined in the High Court, I might say fairly predictably, on Section 109 of the Constitution, and resolved, consistent with that section, in favour of the federal legislation. The conspiracy theories, the falsehoods that are now being spread by the opposition are all at one with their general approach. I mean, earlier today, before the Attorney-General had even got through the statement he was making to the Senate, the opposition were on their feet calling for him to be sacked. I mean, and leading among them, of course, was the Shadow Attorney-General. Mr Speaker, I hope a future Labor government doesn't ever appoint him to the bench. I mean, he'll dispense with the trial and go straight to the execution. There'll be no need for any of that rule of law or due process. Mr Speaker, we are seeing now the absolute embodiment of post-truth politics, falsehoods from the Leader of the Opposition. We saw him telling falsehoods last week about the NBN. We saw him scandalously and shamefully stirring up racial dissent and racial hatred by misrepresenting the remarks of the Immigration Minister. And now we see him talking about
members on both sides.
Kickbacks. He's talking about bribery. What's he now doing? Well, he's accusing the Attorney-General of some crime. His imagination is as boundless as his recklessness when it comes to dealing with the truth. The Leader of the Opposition cannot be trusted on any matter of fact. Whether his statements are accurate or not is entirely a matter of coincidence. He does not care whether what he's saying is true or not. Again and again, he will make things up. He will invent ideas. He will conjure up conspiracies. He has no regard for the facts, and a leader, or a would-be leader, who has no regard for the facts has no respect for the people.